Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell below, and follow me on my social media platforms. Okay, so this is a quick intro to my new baby. I already introduced to you my human baby a couple weeks ago, and now I'm introducing you to my other baby that I birthed last year as well, and it is my podcast, The Whole Mama Show. Just in case YouTube fam, you haven't been following me on Instagram or any of my other platforms where I've been sharing all of the episodes, I figured let me give you a taste of what everybody is listening to. I've had a couple of my Insta fam and other followers sort of asking me if I can put it on YouTube as well, because some people haven't gotten quite the hang of listening to podcasts yet. A couple of things I just wanted to share about the podcast. It is free, so you don't have to pay anything for anybody who's thinking about listening to podcasts but you're not quite sure, because I get this question a lot. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much all of the major podcast players. And yeah, I guess the only form of payment that would be amazing is if you just leave me a review and a rating. To give you a bit of a background, The Whole Mama Show is pretty much an extension of what I've been talking about, the kind of content that I have been bringing to you for the past 4 years or so, when I switched to focusing mainly on motherhood, on life as a working mom, a womanhood, all of that. So it's basically an extension of that. As many of you know, if you've read my blog, I pretty much started there. So, at first I focused on natural hair. That was everything. And then I became a mom and I just got this calling to, share more of the truths, the raw bits of things that the world has kind of hidden from us for a long time, at least for me. To recap, I felt so blindsided when I became a mom, and so I really wanted to share more of that with you. And so then I started talking about motherhood. I was incorporating motherhood content into my posts. A lot of the information and the content that I've put out there has been mostly around my experience of motherhood. This podcast is a celebration. It is a collection of stories of different experiences. There's so many experiences of motherhood that I personally cannot speak to that is still very much part of the story of motherhood. For example, season 1, we delved into miscarriage. We delved into having a NICU baby. We delved into postpartum depression. We delved into having a baby before marriage and the repercussions of that, from a family point of view and society and all of that. Those are just some of the experiences that I haven't personally gone through, but a lot of you watching, a lot of you listening on the podcast itself have gone through. One of the most interesting ones for me, I've got so many I can't choose. I love all of my episodes, okay? But a couple of interesting ones have been, a conversation with a woman who's decided, what? I don't want to be a mom. She's made that decision. She doesn't think that motherhood is for her. How often do we hear from women like that? Just in terms of how society has really pushed this whole motherhood thing on us. Is expected. What happens when you decide, actually, nah fam, this is not for me? That's one of my most interesting ones. One of my mama guests struggled with infertility for the longest time. A white South African woman adopted a black child. What's that experience like? That's something that I've always wanted to know. So we talk about that. And she's just had twins of Filipino heritage via embryo adoption. Okay, just fascinating. The best way I can describe the podcast is this is the permission that we as women, we as mothers, that we have kind of been waiting for, to kind of just be okay, so I'm not the only woman who's going through this. I'm not crazy, or I'm not ungrateful, or I'm not selfish, or whatever word that we have used to sort of bash ourselves or shame ourselves into not telling our stories. We share these stories so that you as the listener, you as a fellow woman, as a fellow mom, know that you're not the only one going through whatever it is that you have gone through or are going through when it comes to your story of motherhood. I absolutely love it when, my Insta fam, my Facebook fam, my Twitter fam reshare, when you guys leave me a review or a rating out of 5, that really, really helps to push my podcast so that more women can listen to it. So please do me a solid and share this video and share my podcast in general. Like, however you decide to share it, if it's an Instagram story or if it's a tweet or whatever it is, that would just really help to just spread the word about my podcast. My hope and my mission is to expand this platform so that more women are included in these conversations and for us to tell our truth. So yeah, let me know what you think, YouTube fam. This is an official introduction to my podcast. I will put the link in the description box below so you can have a listen to the other episodes. But this is episode 1, the official first episode that I'm sharing with you, YouTube fam. But let me know if you would prefer for me to upload the full episode each week. Thanks so much. Please remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell below, and follow me on my social media platforms. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this first episode.
Did you believe in the image of a happy, glowing, peaceful mother that the world promised us we'd be once we got to that stage in life? I did. It was all I was shown and told about motherhood, and I fell for it completely. Have you ever cried in the middle of the night, not knowing how to settle your wailing baby, or find yourself in moments where you don't even know why you're crying to begin with? I have. Did you ever feel inadequate and realize that actually you don't know what you're doing? Yep, that was also me the first 5 months of my son's life. You're not the only mama. Hey, welcome to the Whole Mama Show. I'm your host, Aisha O'Reilly, and in this podcast, I'm sharing the untold stories of motherhood. I'm a digital content creator, and I run the blog Aisha and Life, where I share my honest journey in motherhood, love, and, well, life. I'm a creative, proud chatterbox, recovering perfectionist, and chocolate lover. I'm also a wife to Kevin and mother to 2 little boys, our 4-year-old son Kai and our new son, 2-month-old Kenzo. I love to tell stories in a variety of ways, and the story I'm most passionate about sharing is that of motherhood, because I really don't believe the world has shown us the full picture. We all know what motherhood is supposed to look like, but the reality of it is so different for many of us. I think it will be really difficult to find a woman who can say that becoming a mother didn't change her. I mean, it's a complete transformation. And yet, we share so little of it in comparison to how it affects every aspect of our life and our entire being. I could go on about my journey in motherhood, but I'm also limited in my experience of it. And so the Whole Mama Show will be a collection of conversations with other moms, the things we were never told before becoming mothers, and the things we were too ashamed to talk about when we did. My mission is to create a safe space for us as women to listen and engage with others while healing ourselves. A safe space to share our truths, those we haven't been allowed to share for so long. So for this first episode, I figured I'd share a bit about my journey in motherhood. From the start, it wasn't smooth sailing. I'd been diagnosed with PCOS, which stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, a few years earlier. PCOS is one of the leading causes of infertility, so I was doubtful I'd get pregnant quickly, if at all. If you'd like to hear my PCOS story in more detail, please check it out on my YouTube channel. I will also talk about it here, but in another episode. So in 2015, I found out I was pregnant a week after my 30th birthday party, and the first emotion I felt was fear. I was scared of the unknown. I was scared that it happened so quickly, and scared that I didn't even know what was going on in my body for the past 6 weeks. Honestly, I felt blindsided by motherhood. I felt very ambushed by the entire experience. From the get-go, pregnancy was not what I expected it to be because it wasn't what I was told it would be. By the time I was pregnant with Kai, very few of my friends already had children. So my understanding of pregnancy, birth, and motherhood was pretty much what I saw on TV, what I read in magazines, and what was told to me. I didn't know much else about it other than the stereotypical scenes in a movie where the woman throws up a couple of times and has a few weird cravings. And it's made to be very comical and is a very lighthearted look at pregnancy. But the reality of it was very different for me. Having outbursts out of nowhere, constantly forgetting things, feeling my hips expanding and suffering from painful backaches, as well as all of the other symptoms, was anything but fun. I felt stupid and frustrated and fat and gross and sweaty and don't even get me started on the over-the-top Hollywood version of your water breaking and the ease of postpartum. But that's what I'd expected. I'd never heard or seen anyone not enjoying pregnancy. I was at odds with what I was led to believe all my life and what I was actually feeling. When I tried to be honest about not loving it, I was silenced. Basically, millions of women have gone through this, and just, it's normal. Suck it up. It was only when I spoke to a friend who called me at about 5 months in and she asked me how I was doing. And I said, honestly, I'm really not enjoying this. And that's when she told me she hated her pregnancy too. It was the first time I'd heard this because throughout her pregnancy, she didn't mention anything. She seemed happy and excited, like how an expectant mother should be. But she ended up explaining that the reality was far from the truth. I felt so angry. I was so angry at her, my other mom friends, family members, and the world. I felt tricked. I always wanted to be a mother, and either way, I would have tried to become one. I just would have loved a heads up. But that conversation finally let me know that I wasn't alone. Motherhood is the greatest job on earth. It's filled with so much happiness and so much growth and so much love. And now I am one, I respect it so much more. But it's also hard and it's scary, full of shame and guilt. I would shame myself constantly. Aisha, you prayed for this child. You prayed for him. And now you're pregnant with him and you're not enjoying it? How ungrateful are you? That became the running theme in my head throughout the first year or two of motherhood for me. How ungrateful are you? I didn't allow myself to validate my feelings and my emotions, so I stayed in a state of shame and questioned myself all the time. I felt stupid and confused and just overwhelmed with everything that was going on. Recovering from birth, having to take care of this tiny human, trying to figure out the new dynamic in my house with my husband, all while being sleep deprived. We haven't been told the whole story of motherhood. And motherhood also isn't the whole picture. You need to be whole in other areas of your life for you to be a whole mama. So I just want to reassure you that you're not the only mama who didn't enjoy her pregnancy. You're not the only mama who wished that she'd waited a bit longer to have a baby. You're not the only mama who second-guessed becoming a mother a few weeks after giving birth, or felt guilty about wanting to spend time with your husband instead of your baby, or who was shamed about her cesarean birth. I honestly feel that the traditional portrayal of motherhood only shows about 10% of it. So consider the show the other 90. What happens when you go through a miscarriage? Or if your baby is born 2 months early? Or if you realize that you're suffering from postpartum depression? These are the stories that many times we've been shamed to share and we haven't been able to talk about openly. So we're going to be uncovering the truths of motherhood, the stories that aren't told so often, but are experienced by so many. It's my hope that each episode will leave you feeling a little bit more whole, mama. Thanks for tuning in. I'm really looking forward to sharing these chats with you, and I'd love to continue the conversation online. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at Aisha and Life. That's AISHA ANDLIFE. Do drop me a line. So, reviews are massive on podcasts. Please leave me one and make sure to rate and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Once again, I'm Aisha O'Reilly, and I'm looking forward to unpacking motherhood with you.